you like this video, make sure to click that notification bell so you get a notification anytime I upload a new video. Hope you enjoy.
What's up there, YouTube? How's it going? So, in my past beatbox tutorials, I've taught you how to beatbox dubstep, I've taught you how to beatbox some trap music, and today, I'm going to be teaching all of you how to beatbox some drum and bass. And that beat right there is a good example of what a drum and bass beat should sound like. And once you practice this genre and get the hang of it really well, you'll be able to do something like that too. So here's how this tutorial is going to go down today. In this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you 3 different things. The first thing you're going to be learning is how to do a proper drum beat for drum and bass. The second thing you're going to be learning is some good bass sounds that you can add into your drum beats. And the third thing you'll be learning is how to take the drums, take the bass, and put them all together to form the full beats. So, let's get started with me teaching you how to do the drum beats. So in order to do a drum and bass drum beat, you're obviously going to need to know the basics of beatboxing. So if you don't already know the basics, then click the link in the description to my How to Beatbox tutorial for beginners, watch that, and then come back here to learn how to beatbox drum and bass beats. So when you're first starting off with your drum beats, you're only going to need to know 2 different sounds. The kick drum and the snare drum. And you can make any beat you want with these 2 sounds. You can put them in any order or pattern. But no matter what your beat is, you're going to need to leave a space somewhere in between that beat. And the reason for this is because in a minute, I'm going to teach you a sound that you're going to add into that space in order to make your beats have more of that drum and bass sound. So my beat that I came up with is Did you hear how I left a little space in between that beat in order to add another sound in? So this next sound that you're going to add into that space is what's called the TKs. And that should sound a little something like and the reason why it's called TKs is because all you're doing for this sound is making a letter T sound, making a letter K sound, and then putting them together like. And I want you to hear how adding TKs into the beat that I just did a minute ago can give it more of a drum and bass sound already. Listen to this. Alright, so now you're probably thinking, alright, so I understand how to put the beats together, but how fast do these beats go? And drum and bass beats are usually very fast. They're anywhere from 160 to 180 beats per minute. And if you don't know how fast it is, then I would suggest going to the App Store and getting the metronome app and typing in anywhere from 160 to 180 and letting it play. And then while this is playing, you can practice your beats to it to make sure you're getting the right speed. See, it's a good way to practice. Make sure you're keeping the right speed. So now that I've finished the first part of this tutorial where I teach you how to make a drum and bass drum beat, I'm going to move on to the second part of the tutorial where I teach you some good bass sounds to add into your drum and bass beats. So these bass sounds that I'm about to teach you for your drum and bass beats are the same ones that I use in my dubstep beats. But the difference is that in both of those genres, those same bass sounds are used very differently. And I'll explain the difference later on in the third part of this tutorial when I tell you how to take the drums, take the bass, and put them all together to form the full beat. But for now, here are the 3 bass sounds that I'm going to teach you. The first one is the throat bass, which should sound like. The second sound is the tongue bass, which should go like. And the third and final bass sound you're going to learn today is the lip oscillation, which should sound like. Alright, so the first bass that I'm going to be teaching you today is the throat bass. And this should sound a little something like. And I actually made a throat bass tutorial back in spring of 2015. So if you want a more in-depth tutorial for the throat bass, then I would suggest going down in the description and clicking the link to that tutorial. But I'll still be teaching you the throat bass the best I can today. And first, before you start learning this sound, I would advise you to get a bottle of water and drink it while you're practicing this sound. And the reason why is because when you're first starting off with this sound, it might hurt a little bit and it might be harder to do. And if you drink water, it'll make the sound hurt less and it will make it easier to do. And basically how you start off with learning this sound is just make the sound that you'd make when you're clearing your throat, like and then take that sound and extend it out, like just like that. And now you actually already have the throat bass, but it's a little bit on the higher side. So if you'd like to make it lower, I have a way to do that also. So in order to make your throat bass lower pitched, you have to take the vibration and move it further down your throat. And I'll show you how it's done. Originally the vibration is around up here, like and then you take it and you move it down like see how I moved it farther down in my throat to get the lower sound? Alright, so now that I've taught you throat bass, we're going to be moving on to learning the second bass of the day. So the second bass that I'm going to be teaching you today is the tongue bass, which should sound a little something like. And for this sound, I actually made a tutorial for it too in summer of 2016, so if you want a more in-depth tutorial for this sound as well, there will be a link to it in the description. But today, I'm also going to teach this sound the best way I can. So in order to do the tongue bass, you're pretty much just going to need to know how to roll your tongue. And if you don't know how to do this, then I'm going to tell you. So take the tip of your tongue and put it on the roof of your mouth, like just like that. And by the way, you're not going to want to put it all the way on the roof of your mouth. You're just going to want to put the tip of your tongue right above where your front teeth are. And make sure to keep your tongue very relaxed. And while your tongue is relaxed, and while the tip of your tongue is on the roof of your mouth, you're going to want to exhale really hard. And as the air hits the tip of your tongue while it's very relaxed, it'll cause your tongue to flap or roll, like. And now you pretty much got the tongue bass down, but there's one more tip you need to know in order to make this tongue bass sound really good. So keep in mind, the less open your mouth is, the lower pitched the tongue bass is going to be. And the more open your mouth is, the more higher pitched the sound is going to be. And watch this, I'll show you how it works. See how when my mouth was less open, the sound was lower, and when my mouth was more open, the sound was higher. Alright, so now that I've taught you tongue bass, we're going to be moving on to the third and final bass of the day. So the final bass that I'm going to be teaching you today is the lip oscillation. And this should sound like. And all you need to know how to do in order to do this sound is just vibrate your lips, like. And in order to change this sound, you just loosen and tighten up your lips. For example, if your lips are looser, it'll sound similar to how it did before, like. But then, if you tighten up your lips, like. Then it will give it a completely different sound. Alright, so now that I've taught you how to make the drum beats and how to do the basses for drum and bass, now it's finally time to move on to the third step where I teach you how to take the drums, take the bass, and put it all together to form a full drum and bass beat. So, in order to piece together a full drum and bass beat, I'm going to go over everything you learned today. So, basically, you start off by making up a pattern or a beat with kick drums and snare drums. And leave a space somewhere in that beat, because in that space in the beat, you're going to be adding TKs and you're going to be adding your bass sounds. And remember, these beats aren't slow. Drum and bass is a very fast genre of music, ranging anywhere from 160 beats per minute to 180 beats per minute. And if you're having trouble determining that speed by yourself, then get yourself a metronome app from the App Store so while it plays, you can practice at the correct speed. So remember before how I was telling you that in drum and bass and in dubstep, it's pretty much going to be the same basses, but they're used very differently? I'll explain what I meant by that now. So if you're doing a dubstep beat, the basses tend to be very slow and intense, like. But if you're doing drum and bass, make sure to keep your bass sounds very quick, crisp, and short to go along with a very fast-paced beat. And if you follow all these steps for making a full drum and bass beat, it should turn out a little something like this. Alright, so that's pretty much it for today. I really hope that this tutorial was helpful. If it was, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, or follow my Instagram called KevinYouTube, or click that notification bell so you're notified anytime I make a new video. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments and I'll help you the best I can. And that's it for today, so peace!